Well, good evening to everyone, and welcome to the 2024 Youth Gathering Briefing for Lower Susquehanna Synod. We want to thank you all for joining us. What I'd like to do is open with a little word of prayer, and then I'm going to ask, I'll prompt you and ask each of you to introduce yourself and where you serve so that the other folks on the call can become familiar with some of the other names of folks that will be traveling to the gathering from Lower Susquehanna. And then Chuck and I will launch into some of the material we have planned for you, and we'll finish up tonight with some questions and try to answer any. My goal is to answer any of your questions before we get off the call tonight to make sure you feel more comfortable with your role and with the gathering in general. So the Lord be with you.
No, sir.
Lord, just a prayer of thanksgiving. There are so many opportunities for us to enter into faith formation and accompaniment with young people. And in our synod in particular, we have wonderful outdoor ministry sites and opportunities to be together in retreat settings and events. But the youth gathering is unique, Lord, and it takes a special leader, special leaders to accompany young people. And I want to thank you for the gifts that each person on this call brings to this process this evening. Help us to know, Lord, your will for us in the midst of this event. Reveal that to us over the course of the next few months, and perhaps help us to know a little more clearly the ways you're calling us to serve through tonight's conversation. We look forward to this opportunity to be alongside of young people from all over the ELCA, and we thank you for the gift of our Lord and Savior, in whose name we boldly pray. Amen. So I'm going to ask folks to just kind of say hello and tell us where you serve, and also just maybe give a little quick recap of your gathering experience. Is this your first gathering, or have you done this before? Just to give us all a little more clarity on the folks in the room. And the reason I ask that is because we can learn from each other during these briefings. We find that there's a lot of shared knowledge, particularly for those of you that have done this before. So I'm going to ask Chuck Bissell, who's going to be serving alongside of me on this call tonight, and also as our co-synod champion, as the ELCA is calling us this year, to start. So Chuck, would you say hello?
Sure. My name is Chuck Bissell, and I serve as the director for Family, Faith Formation, and Youth Ministry at Zion Lutheran Church in York, Pennsylvania. As far as gatherings go, this is my first gathering was 2012 as a brand new youth leader to my home congregation. And I had 3 months notice that I had kids that wanted to go. And so I was in quite a panic. And so like these meetings, these sessions were really what got me ready and got me through the gathering process. So yeah, so 2012, 15, 18, and now this one. So this is my fourth gathering.
Super. Thanks, Chuck. Connie.
Yes, I'm from Swamp. Some of my gang is here that we're all traveling together. And this is my sixth one. So I've kind of done this for a while. My first one was in San Antonio. And kind of like you, Chuck, like I had Ashley Jenner, your mom, came to me and said, hey, there's these kids who want to go to the gathering. Would you like to take them? So I'm like, okay, let's go for it. So
it's fantastic. Thanks for your service all those years. Aaron, looks like you have someone with you too.
Yeah, Sam's trying to hide on the side here. She doesn't want to be on camera.
Okay. All right.
I'm Aaron. I'm from Calvary Lutheran here in Dover, PA. This will be my third. Sam is actually coming along because she may be taking over my role in a few years. Maybe even sooner, mattering on how things go. But yeah, this will be my third.
Great. And Sam, welcome aboard.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. Great. Okay. And Jennifer.
I'm Jennifer Taylor. My daughter is actually attending the youth gathering. I went in 1994, so in Atlanta. That was my first one. I attended as a junior or senior in high school. And I'm actually going this year as a parent volunteer.
Fantastic.
Looking forward to going back.
Yeah. And Jennifer, where you guys serve?
I go to Swamp as well.
Swamp as well. Okay, great. Marissa.
Hi, I'm Marissa. I serve at Faith United in Denver, and we are traveling together with Swamp. So we
Fantastic.
have a good group going. This is my 4th gathering. I went as a participant in 2009, and then I was an ELCA volunteer, core volunteer in 2012. And then I chaperoned a group with like a couple months notice on my internship in 2018 to Houston, and then chaperoning this. So really excited. I've seen how much this changes people's lives. So it's exciting to be a part of.
Well said. Thank you for that. Yeah. Pastor Scott.
Hi, yeah, Pastor Scott Brubaker at Swamp Lutheran in Reinholds. And you heard, we got a group of 4 of us here going to take kids from our respective congregations. This is my 2nd trip. I went along with folks from Mellingers Lutheran in Shennick in 2018, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So this will be my 2nd gathering.
Great. Great. And Christine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Peck, and this will be my 4th gathering. First one I went in 2012 as a parent volunteer, and the second one, my husband and I both went. He's now our youth ministry team lead at church. I'm still a volunteer, but we are no longer parents of the youth of which we're traveling. So this will be my 2nd one, taking other people's kids.
Super. Thank you. And just to give you a little background on me, many of you know me from my work with the Synod, Faith Formation Director for Lower Susquehanna Synod, but I'm also a congregational youth worker. I've stayed in that role throughout my years serving the Synod, and I've served in a variety of different congregations. Currently, I'm at St. Matthew Lutheran in York, and taking a sizable group to the gathering. We're taking 19, including one young adult. But my experience with the gatherings started in 2004, or no, excuse me, in 1994, excuse me, in Atlanta. In 94, I was a congregational youth worker as well, but then I served on gathering planning teams and was actually a manager for the gathering, and have been to New Orleans a number of times in a number of different roles. So really excited to be going back to that city and walking alongside you and our young people. So I agree with Pastor Marissa. I've seen it transform lives. And what's been really cool about it has been for me that I've seen as many adults, parents in particular, who have traveled with their young people to gatherings be transformed just as much as their children were. So it's a really powerful event. Well, thank you again for jumping on. I want to open with something that I think is unique to the New Orleans experience. And many of you who have been to gatherings before may appreciate this, and I'll share with you why I'm sharing this particular. Want to start with this, and that is that. Where's my screen share at? Here. New Orleans is unique among gathering cities in that it is the one city that I have found where we can truly walk to everything. And that's important to note because for many of you that have been to gatherings in Houston and San Antonio, and although San Antonio is pretty easy to move around as well, but Houston, Atlanta, places like that, you might have had to get on a bus and drive as much as 45 minutes to an hour just to get from your hotel to a venue. Then you were at that venue all day, unless you had your own transportation, and then you might be going back to your hotel late at night. So you really don't have much flexibility when it comes to where you go and how much time you spend in certain venues. You really are stuck with kind of traveling with the gatherings schedule. Why this city is unique is the map I have in front of you is basically the central business district and downtown of New Orleans. And the 4 colored quadrants, green, yellow, purple, and red or pink, pretty much are all of the gathering. And you could probably walk anywhere in that colored section of the map within 20-25 minutes in any direction. So it really is a unique city in the sense that you're going to have the opportunity as leaders to help your young people and your other advisors think about what you want to do between things. Whereas in the past, if we were, let's say, in that complex in Houston where the convention center and dome were located, you could pretty much walk back and forth between the two through the parking lot, but that was about it. If you wanted to get anywhere in the downtown, you had to, get an Uber or have your own transportation. That's not the case in New Orleans. You can literally walk to a variety of venues, both places that have historical significance, that are sightseeing, and in that map, the map I have up there, there's about 103 restaurants. So you have a lot of variety of food choices, and we're going to talk about some of that here in a moment. I'm going to post this map and send it to you all as well. There are other maps out there like this one. I just chose this one because I really like being able to see all the streets and street names. The other unique thing about New Orleans, if you look in the center of the map from top to bottom, that divides the green section from the purple and red sections, that's Canal Street. Canal Street is the main boulevard in the middle of the city, and it's the boulevard where the trolleys run, as well as St. Charles, which takes trolleys out to the Garden District. But the thing you have to be careful about when you're crossing Canal Street is that you're not just looking both ways for traffic, which is 3 lanes in both directions, but you also have to watch for trolley cars. So that's also the dividing line between what is the old city, which is in the red, the French Quarter, and the new city, which is in the green and yellow. And that's where the street names change. If you cross Canal Street, on one side, you might be on Camp, or on the other side, you might be on Chartres. So it's one of those unique things about the city when you're navigating it, is knowing, that one street will change names as soon as you cross Canal. If you look at the bottom of the map, near the river, in the yellow section is the convention center. It's one of the largest convention centers in the country. It is 1 mile in length. Fortunately, like most interior buildings in New Orleans, it's air conditioned. So when you're in your interaction center, the convention center, it's going to be chilly, and we'll talk about that here in a moment as well, and what the implications are. North, or excuse me, not north, but straight at the top of the map is that white dot. That's the Louisiana Superdome. Of course, that's where we're going to be for all of our mass gatherings, and so we'll be making our way to the Superdome every afternoon in early evening hours. And the distance from the convention center at the bottom of the map to the Louisiana Superdome is 1 mile. And most people can walk that in about 25 minutes. If you're really hurrying, you can make it in less, but there's no real reason to hurry in New Orleans. It's not that kind of town. And the main thoroughfare that most people travel from the Dome to the convention center is, I always get the two of them confused. Canal is the other one. What's Poydras? Poydras. Thanks, Chuck. Yeah, Poydras. Poydras and Canal are both similar kind of streets in that they're very wide. They have wide sidewalks, and it's really pretty safe to make your way up and down Canal and Poydras. So, a couple other things about the map and why I brought it up. Most of your hotels are located on this map, and I have all of your hotels in a database. And so, if you are outside these 4 quadrants, let me know that. I'd be curious to know that, but I don't think you are. I think almost all of you are located in these 4 quadrants in your hotels. So as we go through this evening, we'll talk about why, again, I think it's important to note this, because you're going to have some time to fill. unlike other gatherings where you really were kind of stuck at a venue or maybe, you know, at a place where you couldn't be as mobile, in New Orleans, you're going to really be able to, like I say, choose to do some things. So any questions about the map? Chuck, anything you want to comment on while I have this up?
No, not yet. Once we get dig deeper
Yeah.
into things. Yeah.
Okay. So it really is going to be a city that's easy to navigate, in my humble estimation, and I think you'll probably enjoy getting to see a lot of the sites, particularly the historic district, which is the quarter. Any questions about any of that? Great. Chuck, let's go into the days,
Sure.
shall we? And would
Yeah.
you begin to kind of share with them a little bit about what we're learning about the different days and our schedule, our rotation, so folks can begin to plan. And I think it sounds like everybody at least has been to a gathering, so you're pretty familiar with the different full day events that make up the gathering schedule. So we don't have to go into too much detail about describing those, but
No,
ahead,
and
Chuck.
I think we're ahead of the game too, that we actually know what
Yeah.
our days are right now. So
Yep.
so Tuesday night the gathering opens at the Superdome. But then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we get into the meat of the gathering, and those are our 3 main days. So I don't know about you, but I'm like really excited about how the schedule plays out. So Wednesday will be our accompaniment day or our service day. So we will get service done right away. It will probably be your earliest day of the week that you'll need to be up. So the way accompaniment day is going to work is there's 2 different places that it'll launch from, either the convention center or it can launch from the Superdome as well. So plan on walking to one of those 2 locations in order to launch. Launches are happening between 7:30. I think they want you there between 7:30 and 8:30, and launches are going to run between 8 and 9 o'clock.
There will be
From-
occasional situations where congregations would leave right from their hotel. Is that right, to walk?
Yes. So
Understand.
depending upon because there's 3 different types of service. There is like actual getting your hands dirty workday stuff. There is I'm trying to think of the words they actually used. There's like the work component, there's a learning component, and then there's also a Charlie, I can't think of it.
Advocacy.
That's it. So there's 3 different paths that you could be on. If you registered early, you might have chosen one of those 3, and odds are you will probably get your first choice based on the numbers that we have for the gathering so far. We just don't know what those choices are yet. Now, again, because we're finding things out earlier than normal, we're hoping that you'll be able to find out what your accompaniment day is going to be before you even leave, so you can pack appropriately. Yeah. So fingers crossed on that one. Yeah. So accompaniment day is day 1. We talked about launch times and arrival times. The one thing that is different this year is that all accompaniment projects will be done by 1 p.m. They are not providing lunch. That is one of the reasons that they are making sure that they're over by 1 p.m. Plus, lunch was a mess anyway. Yes, it was a soggy ham. It was a soggy ham and cheese sandwich. Come on.
Yeah.
But with the accompaniment day being done by 1, you have, again, being in New Orleans, you have time to go back to your hotels and shower and get ready to go to dinner, to then go to the dome for the mass gathering stuff. So yeah, so that's one awesome thing about this, is that we're all the plan is to be done by 1 and back shortly thereafter, if not back by 1 too. So because again, with them not feeding, they want to make sure that you have plenty of time to get that lunchtime meal in. So day 2 for us which is Thursday is going to be our Synod Day.
Yep.
So Synod Day is going to be Thursday, and Synod Day is a little bit different because of the numbers. We won't be worshiping just as a synod. We'll be worshiping as a region. So yeah, so they'll end up being in a larger ballroom, and we will be worshiping together as a region. And the thing that we don't know yet, though, is whether we have a 10 a.m. worship time or a 2 p.m. worship time. So either the kids are sleeping in or the kids are really sleeping in. Go ahead, Charlie.
The early indication is that since they're moving to a regional worship option, the early indication is those are going to be morning services. So the likelihood is that we'll worship together at 10 a.m. and then we'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing after that as a synod. But go ahead, Chuck.
And then day three, or the learning day.
Yep.
Your learning day, go ahead.
The third full day. Yep.
Yeah, so the third full day is going to be the learning component day. And that is going to take place in the convention center. As Charlie mentioned, it's huge. It's about 8 to 10 football fields long, and they will have a ton of things to do. There will be a ton of activities to do for that day. So the note that I got from the Synod Champ meetings was that you should be planning that day like you would be planning your accompaniment day, because there's going to be a lot of activity and a lot of things to do. The learning component day because the convention center opens at 10 a.m. and it closes at 5 p.m. So and the nice thing too is that we're not limited to go there just on our day. So we don't have to wait till the third day to go to the convention center and check out everything. You can start doing bits and pieces as you go along, because you'll have time in the afternoon when you get back from accompaniment, and we'll have plenty of time on Synod Day. The one other thing that was that they will be shutting down the convention center at 3 p.m. on our learning day in order to give the young adult attendees access to that space by themselves. So that's the one.
Chuck, remind me, is it Thursday or is it Friday that they're doing that for the young adults?
Thursday. Oh, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Oh, it's Thursday. So that's not us. Yeah.
Thursday. So it's the day before ours. So
yeah,
the afternoon of our Synod Day, which will be the second full day of programming, Thursday, is the day that they're closing the Interaction Center early so that the young adults who are there as part of the young adult experience can have that exclusively. And that's at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and it's still freaking me out that we're not doing this, starting this on a Tuesday. So that's what I'm still talking. Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday forever, and then now it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it's just throwing me for a loop still. So yeah, so those are the 3 main days.
Yep.
There was one thing I wanted to add to the learning day. We'll talk about clear bags then. Yeah.
So all of you on the call have experienced an interaction center, right? I mean, you've walked into those convention centers and seen the kind of experiences that are being offered. And once again this year, that wide variety of opportunities are what's planned. So you know as well as anyone how much time you could spend in the interaction center if you wanted to, and if you wanted to go there more than one day. And I think, as Chuck is indicating, this year more than ever, the opportunity exists to go into the interaction center every day if you wanted to. I don't know that you do, but that opportunity is there, at least on the full programming days. And I think even on Tuesday. Go ahead, Chuck.
I'm sorry. I remember what I wanted to say. So if you have any kids that are growing their hair out, expecting to donate hair, there will be no hair donation this year, and there will be no blood donation this year either. So so that's one big change, because I had I had two girls that were growing their hair out in order to donate it when we got there, and surprise their moms with their haircuts when they came home. But now they have to do that before we leave. So yeah, no hair donation, no blood donation this year.
So all 3 days, potentially, you could be done with formalized gathering programming by lunchtime, give or take, because we'll be back from our accompaniment service opportunities by 1 o'clock on Wednesday. Our synod / regional worship experience will be in the morning. And on Friday, for our learning day in the interaction center, you could go when it opens at 10 o'clock and be done by 1 o'clock if you wanted to be. I'm not suggesting you should do that at all. But what I am saying is that's different, again, than what we've experienced in some of these other cities. And the reason that's important to note is that if you wanted to do some sightseeing, if you wanted to go do a tour, if you wanted to go have a meal, a sit-down meal in the middle of the afternoon, you could do that. Because in New Orleans, you have the chance to walk to that. The World War II Museum, a riverboat cruise, a swamp tour, a city tour, a graveyard tour, which is really unique in New Orleans. And so there's all these different kind of opportunities that exist that don't normally exist at gatherings. Now you have to decide, do you want to spend the money for things like that, or do you want to just walk the French Quarter? Do you want to go down and get beignets at Café du Monde on the riverfront? Do you want to go to there's a museum right at Jackson Square in New Orleans. There's all kinds of things to do in the city that are all well within walking distance. The Mardi Gras Museum, or where they make the Mardi Gras floats, Mardi Gras World it's called. So there's all kinds of things that you could be doing if you wanted to, in addition to the learning experiences, or as Chuck suggested earlier on, in the afternoons of our Synod Regional Day and in the afternoons of our accompaniment day, you could also go to the Interaction Center. So it really comes down to what you want to do with your young people.
And there is another aspect to Synod Day as well. The gathering staff has planned out a scavenger hunt using an app called Goose Chase. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that app. So Goose Chase is a scavenger hunt app that they've already planned out at least 2 or 3 different adventures for you to see the city by doing the scavenger hunt and by not solving clues, but by taking pictures at certain landmarks or finding like a GPS location. And one of the things that they're going to do, that the gathering staff is going to do, is that they will have hydration stations throughout the city, and they will be GPS points on the scavenger hunt that you will need to go and find. So it's a bunch of different, again, if you're familiar with the app, you have a ton of tasks that you can accomplish through the app. And so you take photographs to prove that. So if you wanted to compete against congregation versus congregation or something like that, you can make a friendly competition out of it. Or you can try to compete against like other synods. I think we're the largest synod there, so we'll probably win, but still. But yeah, that's just another aspect to Synod Day that they put out there for us.
And when on our previous call with members from our synod congregations, they indicated they might like to compete a little bit. So I think what we'll do is when we're finished with our worship experience, which is being led by Bishop Jim Dunlop and Bishop Layla Ortiz from the DC Metro Synod, right, is going to be preaching during our regional worship experience. But when that worship experience ends, as a synod, I think we're going to indicate to our synod congregations, if you'd like to be part of the Goose Chase app, and you want to spend some time that afternoon doing that, when we convene at the Dome later that day, we'll we'll have a little prize for whichever congregation did the best. So you don't have to do that, but you can participate if you like. So that's one option. Yeah. So around 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Charlie,
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
the goose chase, is that only
Yep.
for that day, or is it for the whole week that we're there?
I think you could probably access that any day you wanted to, Aaron.
Okay, because we're going in a day early and it would give us
Yeah.
something to work with.
Yeah.
Right,
Yep.
thank you.
You could. Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find
mhm.
multiple goose chase, scavenger hunts that are just on the app anyway that are free.
Yeah.
So,
But I think the one that they're posting for the gathering will probably be up by Tuesday. I would
yeah.
imagine. Yeah. If not before. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they're going to be hosting the Champions Square venue, which is outside of the Superdome, the Mercedes Benz Dome. Forgive me. And Champions Square will be a place that you can gather in the afternoons prior to going into the dome, where they'll have food trucks and entertainment options, live music. I would assume, and you can gather with young people there. If you want to make your way up to the dome area that early in the afternoon, you could, and spend some time at Champion Square. Champion Square will be open every day that the dome has an evening event. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday evenings at 4 o'clock. The dome doors will open at 6, and the dome event will begin around 7. And I imagine there'll be a soft opening, so there'll probably be a DJ and recorded music even before 7 o'clock. But you can make your way into the dome, find your seats as early as 6 o'clock. And like has been the tradition in the recent past, our Synod Day will be the day that we will be allowed to go into the dome a little bit early and proceed directly to the floor of the dome. So if your young people want to sit on the floor, that's the day that you probably have the best likelihood of getting onto the floor. That doesn't mean you couldn't get onto the floor other days, but that would be the day that we would have the best chance to do that. And the dome events will probably last about 2 hours on average. And the other thing that is unique for some of you that may never been to New Orleans before is the return of evening community life in hotels. There will be 3 pockets of community life activities in hotel properties in the evenings. And Chuck, you want to give us a little rundown of what those 3 venues are?
Sure.
Remember? Yep.
Right by the zone, right by the Superdome is Zone 3, and it's at the Hyatt, and that's Zone 3. So there will be activity after the mass gathering at that location. Zone 2 is going to be the Marriott and the Sheraton on Canal Street, and those two hotels are directly across the street from each other. And then Zone 1 will be the Hilton Riverside. So if you're staying down along the river, if you're staying, who's staying at Hilton Riverside?
Connie, right?
Yeah,
You guys,
look at you guys.
A bunch of you. Yep.
You guys have that. You have community life in your hotel. Yep. So, but really the nice thing is that you'll be able to go and explore the different hotels if you'd like, because there will be activities at every single hotel. There'll be dance, there'll be live music, there'll be games and activities for everybody at each location. And that's going to run from, and that's going to run from 9:15 until 10:40 in each zone. So they're giving you about an hour, like 10:45. They're giving you like an hour and a half to let loose after a night of fun at the dome. So, but yeah, so those are the 3 locations for community life this time.
Yeah. And again, it's a different kind of city than Houston or even Detroit. You can bet your bottom dollar there'll be a lot of restaurants open when the dome closes. So like you're not, it's not like some of these cities would go into where they roll up the sidewalks at 8 o'clock in the evening downtown. Downtown New Orleans, you can walk 3 or 4 blocks from the Dome and find everything from beignets to pizza to gumbo to,
Tacos.
crab etouffee. Yeah, right. So I mean, there'll be all kinds of opportunities to eat after the Dome if you wanted to as well, or go back to your hotel and get pizza. And that's so there's a lot of different experiences there. One of the big and then Sunday, or excuse me, Sunday. Here I am again doing the old schedule. Saturday morning, the final large worship experience in the Dome will be the end of our time together, formally, and so that's the main event on Saturday morning. Before you can begin to make your way back to Central Pennsylvania. Are any of you staying post gathering? I know some are going early. Okay, great.
Just one day, actually.
Yeah, good. A great city on Saturday night. Wow, kind of envious.
But we have kids with us, Charlie.
I know, but it's still a great city. The one big change that I think is significant for all of us is that the convention center and the Dome require clear bags. Most of you have probably seen this or heard about it. And we're going to post the clear bag policy to our website, but also be sending it around to you. Some of your young people may already have clear backpacks or clear bags because of schools. Some schools are requiring those, but not all. Like, I've run into some congregations that have not encountered this yet. So you may want to consider ordering these. You can get them. You can get them all shipped into you, or decide if you want to have individual families purchase them. It's really up to you how you want to handle that, but it is going to be a requirement. You won't be able to take a typical backpack into the Dome. They'll confiscate those at the door. So please make sure that when you're making your way to the convention center or to the Dome, you have a clear bag if you're going to have bags. Now, the advantage of New Orleans is that conceivably you could stop at your hotel, depending on where your hotel is, and drop bags off if you really wanted to. And there is a size recommendation, and that is that let's see here.
I know it's 12 by 12 by 6.
Correct. Yep, 12. Yeah, 12 by 12 by 6. Yeah.
Big enough to hold some gauze and a water bottle and Band-Aids and the necessities that we need.
T-shirt, and a spare T-shirt, and things like that.
Yeah, my kids carry their own Band-Aids.
Yeah, no buckles, grommets, or decals can conceal any part of the bag. Yeah. And
I thought they were.
Go ahead.
Are items in the bag allowed to be like inside their own bags? Like makeup bags, for instance.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, it seems like that's the case, Chris. Small, non-clear bags, not exceeding 4.5 by 6.5 inches in size, or with or without a handle or strap, can be taken into the stadium with one of the clear bags. So,
like a clutch for the most part.
Yeah, about the size of a clutch. Pretty restrictive, frankly.
It's like going to any football game or any sporting event these days,
Mm-hmm.
I lost a bag. I lost a really nice backpack one time because I thought I could carry it in. What's it?
Yeah.
Stupid Redskins game. Oh, Commanders game. But yeah.
And I'm going to send a copy of the specs to all of you electronically, and I'll post it also to our website. But Old Lutheran, wow, is anybody surprised by that? Old Lutheran is selling these, but of course they'll be expensive. You can get them pretty inexpensively, or relatively speaking, with some of the other digital vendors. So, yeah. Any questions about that policy? That's the most significant change over what has been the case in some venues. So, safety is
Yeah,
another
what
big
about
concern.
what about if you have a fanny pack, would they need to be clear or?
You know, Connie, I think fanny packs probably fit that size
Okay,
kind of
yeah,
4x6.
for the small bags, the small
okay,
non-clear bags. I think that was designed for fanny
okay,
packs.
all right.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. Safety is always an issue in any city. The 4 quadrants that I showed you on the map are such that you ought to be able to walk those safely if you're walking with a group of young people and or other adults. New Orleans has its share of crime, and I'm just going to be really honest with you. In the quadrants where we are is the main downtown tourist area. And so the fact of the matter is that one of the biggest issues in that part of the city is pickpockets. And that's not me being racist or judgmental in any way. That's just the reality of that part of the city. And so, the recommendation does come that if you're carrying things in pockets, that you keep it in a front pocket, that you don't have something in a backpack that has a zippered pocket that's back where you can't feel it. It's just, things that are of value. You ought to be careful about that because there are crowds in New Orleans. We're not the only people in town. There's tourists in New Orleans all the time, even in the middle of the summer. And so, but realistically speaking, the gathering also pays for lots of extra security, along with the professional security personnel and police. And so you can count on it being a pretty safe experience in all of our venues. But the reality is you just have to be aware, and just be talking with young people about the realities of safety and traveling together and being conscious of where you're at. Most of you will probably want to at least show your young people Bourbon Street. It's a unique place. There's not many places like it, even for adults. I don't know that you're going to spend a lot of time there. There's a lot of places in the French Quarter I will take young people that I want them to see and experience, because the French Quarter is a uniquely wonderful place, historic in its architecture, and there's art and there's live music on the streets, and it's just wonderful. And as many of you have been to New Orleans know, you're going to hear live music everywhere. The one thing that we do talk with groups about and leaders about is that how you handle money related to security is going to be one of those things you have to think about, right? As a group leader, are young people going to be carrying cash? Are you going to be paying for things with credit cards? The one thing I would say is I would highly recommend that you have some conversation with your youth and your other advisors about gratuities, and that you do have some cash with you at all times in the form of $1 bills, because New Orleans is a city that a lot of the people in the city make their money on tips, because it is a tourism city, and it's heaped in that. Servers in your restaurants, servers in your hotels, people are taking care of our rooms, but also there's a lot of street musicians. There's a lot of artists on the street, and so they really do rely on tips. And so if you want to talk about that with young people and have everybody have a few dollars in ones, that may not be a bad bet. As far as eating goes, you will find that many of the restaurants are smaller. They're not always big venues. And so when you go in, depending on the size of your group, you may have quicker, better results of getting seats than other places. Many of the restaurants do not take reservations in New Orleans because they don't need to, but you can try. And I would think about maybe going to have a sit down meal at a place at a time when maybe not everybody else is eating. And so, you might pick a mid-afternoon time to have a big meal, and then after the dome have pizza or something like that, or have fast food. But if you're going into a restaurant to sit down and eat a meal together as a group, you may want to consider putting that on a credit card, depending on if that's a possibility or not from your congregation. So all those things are things to be thinking about in terms of money and safety and security. The other thing that we always talk about, just because it's a reality, and most people don't know this, but as a gathering planner, a majority of the injuries that happen at gatherings are foot injuries. And it's because people wear flip-flops. And so I'm not going to tell you not to wear them. I'm not going to tell you not to have sandals because it's hot in New Orleans. It's humid in New Orleans. But, just have your young people think about footwear, because it is the old city in particular, has high curbs, and, there's a lot of places you can really get caught up in flip-flops. And so, and with the crowds and the movement of crowds, and you can't really control sometimes. So anyway, just be aware of that. That's something the gathering always, and then staying hydrated, making sure you have water with you all the time. And that's why the water station piece Chuck was mentioning earlier is so important. Yeah. Any curiosity or questions about security and or money? Anybody want to share any tips on money?
Debit cards are a beautiful thing.
They are.
I just went on a high school trip to Disney, and a lot of places are cashless except for the tipping. And we highly encourage the parents to eat prepaid, regular debit, doesn't matter, but it worked out very well.
Yep.
We did that for our last gathering. We had a bunch of credit cards so that the leaders each had some credit cards to use. So,
okay,
the prepaid ones.
Prepaid debit cards, yeah. How many of you are flying into the city? Okay. Have you gotten word yet from the gathering on the transportation contractor that they're providing to help get you from the hotel to the airport to hotel? Have you gotten that material yet? Anybody? Okay. I just got the link to that this week. So either tonight or tomorrow morning, I'm gonna put together an email that I'm gonna send to all of you that has the things that I've already suggested, the bag information. I'm gonna put that link in that email to you. The gathering has contracted with a local transportation provider to get you shuttle service from the airport to your hotel and back. You'll have to pay extra for it, and you'll have to reserve it, but it's affordable comparatively to getting Ubers, unless depends on the size of your group. Like if it's you and 4 youth, it might be okay to just get your own car. But for most of you that are traveling with groups, you may want to consider the shuttles.
So it's $25 one way.
Yep.
Per person. So yeah.
Are they going to be running them early or just from like Monday on?
I wanted to say that. There's a 3-day buffer, Aaron. The 3 days before and 3 days after, they will have those buffers in there for people that are arriving early or leaving later. So yeah, because that's one of the things I'm going to be doing with my group. I have 14 going, so we're not fitting in an Uber.
Yeah. Okay. Chuck, are there other things that you wanted to, that we might have missed that you wanted to touch on?
Well, I do want to touch on a couple of things.
Yep.
First and foremost, like there's some Q&As that the leaders asked.
Yep.
And I'm just trying to find those pieces. The one thing I do want to mention though is with anybody that is an adult leader or registered as an adult leader, beginning May 1st, there are going to be required adult leader trainings that you have to take. There's going to be 2 of them. These are something that you want to take care of maybe when they come out on May 1st or May 2nd, because when you're standing in line for registration, if you don't have, you can't, this isn't something you're going to be able to try to get done while you're standing in line for registration for your group. This is something that you want to have done ahead of time. So yeah, so I would say definitely make sure that you make all your adult leaders aware, if they are registered as such, that they have to get these done.
That online check.
It will be online, yes. And if you're also registered for like the G News, there you're gonna get all that information in that way as well. And Jen, just throw the ball to the dog. Also, other things that you probably have questions on, but I'm gonna see if I can answer them first. Champion Square opens at 4 p.m. The gates we'll be using at the Dome will be gates B, D, and H, and then we will be able to go through gate H on our Synod Day for early access for preferential seating.
Yep.
The wristbands that you will get at registration.
Yes.
The wristbands. Replacement wristband is $500. It's like losing your ticket on the turnpike. You're paying the maximum amount. But yeah, so replacement wristbands are $500. Some kids are, when you pass them out, they're tempted to put them on loosely so they can slide them on and off. Please discourage them from doing that. It's a tag that they can shower with. If any of your kids have been to Winterfest, we usually hand out wristbands there that they have to keep on all weekend, so we know who our kids are. It's going to look terrible by day 4, but it's still going to be something that they have to have. And if they lose it, it is seriously $500. They will not let you into any event anywhere. So be very aware of that. I felt like there was one more thing I wanted to say, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. Oh, there will be an info line. So as far as communications go, there'll be digital stuff available. Info line is going to be a 24/7 call center that can help with anything that you need in regards to questions you may have in the middle of the night, or something went wrong or something happened. You'd be able to contact the info line and someone will be able to work with you to solve that issue. Registration for the gathering itself is being done at the convention center. So that's completely separate from checking into your hotel. So when you get there, check into your hotel first, and then send somebody. You don't have to send to everybody. You can send somebody to the convention center to get all the registration stuff done, pick up all your wristbands, all your packets for the week. And registration for those that are going to be there a little bit earlier. Registration opens, I know this. Registration will happen at the convention center from 3 to 8 p.m. on Tuesday. So registration for the gathering itself will begin at 3 p.m. on the Tuesday. So yeah. So if you're getting in Tuesday, if you're getting in early enough, you have plenty of time. If not, it's something that you'll have to do first thing Wednesday morning. The registration will be open earlier on Wednesday. So I would assume at 10 a.m. when the convention hall opens up for other stuff. So yeah. And that is all I think I have. Questions?
If you're looking for a really inexpensively priced kind of fun hour to 90 minutes, hop on one of the trolley cars and ride it out through the Garden District. I think it's $1.50 or $1.75 to ride for the whole day. And so you could literally get all your kids a ticket, get on, ride out into the Garden District. You can go all the way to the end of the line. I wouldn't necessarily recommend going all the way to the end of the line because you can see a lot just in the first few miles, but it goes out past a number of the large campuses. It's a beautiful ride. The trees are filled with beads because that's where the parade routes go to. But you'll see a lot of the old homes with big, beautiful front porches and just the colors of New Orleans. It's just a lovely ride, and that's one option if you want something just inexpensive to do for an hour, some afternoon or some morning even. You know, some of those mornings that we have a little later start, you could go somewhere and find breakfast for your kids, and or take a ride on a trolley or take a walk in the district or in the quarter rather. So a lot of options. A lot of options. If you're looking for a hotel or if you're looking for restaurant recommendations, ask Chuck or I. We've been to a few. And don't be afraid of the warehouse district for eating. There's a tendency to want to always go to the quarter to eat, and that's fine. There's a lot of great restaurants in the quarter, but there's some really cool restaurants in the Garden District as well, or in the warehouse district as well, which is right across from where the convention center is.
Yeah, and if you wander enough, you'll find some of the best and smallest places that have like the great sandwiches. You know, of course, everybody probably wants to go to Mother's to get their po' boy, and I highly recommend waiting in the line for it because it is phenomenal. But there's tons of small places all throughout the city that you can find fantastic food. Another thing I wanted to mention is start walking now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I told my kids this. I just met with my kids last week, and I told them, I said, you will walk anywhere from 24 to 26,000 steps a day. I said, start walking now. Get used to it because you're going to be doing a lot of it. So yeah.
All right.
Happy news.
One more time. Any questions from any of you? We're kind of just chattering now. I apologize. I get excited every time I think about going to the city. Please know.
We're still having a lot of questions from some of the parents that have a youth traveling and a young adult traveling. What have you learned along the way about how the young adult gathering is really intersecting? Or
so little, Chris.
Okay.
I'm learning so little. And I'm just being honest. I know that they're staying in a hotel that's separate from the gathering hotels. I haven't heard what hotel that is. I have a young adult that's going though. I know that they have the interaction center available to them on Thursday afternoon. I know that they're planning to do a service kind of opportunity with the young adults. I would assume that's going to be on a different day. I just don't, I haven't heard a lot. So I'm going to try to learn more. And as I do, I'll feed information to you. But I would suspect, I would hope that those of us that are registered for the gathering G News will be getting some of that material as well directly. So we are. I mean, we are a few months out yet, but at the same time, we should have heard more by now. I'm a little. I think I'll be honest with you. I think the gathering really was kind of trying to wait to see what the numbers were going to be like, and now that we're in that final stage of registration, I think we'll learn more because they know pretty much who they can count on being there now. What's the size like for the young adult group? What's the size like for the gathering, and so forth. So that's why things are beginning to take form. Like even the announcement of the rotation and the movement from Synod Day to regional worship experiences just came in the last week and a half. And I think it was because when the registration deadline hit, they knew they learned some things. So.
Bottom line, though, is that none of the kids that are going to this gathering know what they are going to expect. There's no expectations for them. Right. So if you've shared stories with them about 35,000 strong already, there will not be 35,000 strong at this gathering. The numbers right now are looking about 14,500. So, but the thing is, 14,500 is still a lot more than what they sit around with. 14,500 is more than what the Giant Center holds. That holds 10,500. So, yeah. So they don't know. So what most likely they'll do for the dome is they'll restrict seating to the floor and the lower bowl. They won't let, I doubt they'll let anybody up in the upper bowls as a result of like the numbers. But yeah, so it's going to look like a lot of people because again, 14,000 is still a lot of people. So, yeah.
Know that I'm available for phone calls, emails, texts at any time. If a question comes up and you just want to shoot me a text or call me, please do that. I'm happy to try to walk with you through whatever concerns you might have. As information becomes available, we'll continue to push that out to all of you. And that will not, while I will post some things to our larger kind of social media venues, whenever it's something specific to the gathering, I'm pushing it to one of you because I have your email list and I'd like to give, because you all are registered, I want you to get the information directly. So know that anything that's important, I'll try to push right to you. But yeah, if you have concerns or just want to chat about something, please don't hesitate to contact me. And I think Chuck feels the same way. So we'll make sure you have his contact information as well.
Yeah, happy to answer any questions. Yeah. And like I said, and the nice thing is that I think all of you have been to at least a few. Yeah. So you know what to expect, but then there's those little details that are going to be different from this than anything else. Yeah. So yeah, we love questions.
Yeah. And again, I think the biggest difference is being able to fill the gaps, you know, whereas we were really kind of, you know, even in Detroit, there were some times where you had to drive from a hotel and you were kind of in a venue all day long waiting for your ride back at night. That's not the case now. You're going to really be able to have the flexibility to go and do some things together as a group, apart from the gathering planned events as well. So yeah. So be creative with it, have some fun with it, you know, do some group building. Yeah. All right. If there's no more questions, we'll bring our evening to a close and look forward to seeing you all somewhere down the road here in the next few months, because with summer coming, there's other activities as well. So thank you for the gift that you bring to faith formation with young people in the church. And we really do appreciate your partnership. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks
so much.
Thank you.
God be with you.
Good night, everybody.
Also with you.
Thank you. Chuck, you want to hang on for a second?
Yeah. Stop recording.
I am.